Welcome to the Marketing Impact Podcast. I'm Mike Wood, your host as always. Today I'm here with Dave Jackson. How are you doing, Dave?
Mike, glad to be here.
All right. Dave is the author of Profit from Your Podcast. He is the owner of School of Podcasting. I'm going to have a link for it in the show notes. He is a Hall of Fame podcaster, and he is the man you need to listen to if you're looking to make money from podcasting. So, Dave, tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, my background is I taught a lot of Microsoft Office and QuickBooks and time management, did that. So I've been in education for decades. I actually used to teach people how to surf the internet because they didn't know what it was. And in 2005, I started podcasting, which was fun because I remember I Googled it and there was 1.5 pages of results. And I'm like, I think we broke the internet. But been doing it since 2005 and loving every minute of it. About the time I think, we've seen about all we're going to see. We've plateaued or whatever. It just keeps growing. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we were just talking about this on the pregame about even in 2016 when I started getting in, which was a decade after you started getting into it. I thought, okay, it's reached its peak. Podcasting is where it is. Since then, now we've got Spotify. Look at how much money
Oh,
Joe Rogan's making now.
well, and between that and the technology now that is made for a podcaster, where before we were all like, well, if we tie this together with a rubber band and do this, it might work, and now it's just like, here's the thing. I've got a thing behind me. It's $150 that I call uh, it's like a Swiss Army knife for podcasting that 5 years ago would have been $900. It's
Yes.
the so it's amazing, and it's just making it easier, which is great because more people are getting involved, and which then when I know I went to a picnic once and finally my one cousin said, okay, I'm going to ask because nobody else will. And I go, what? And he goes, what the hell's a podcast? And
Yes.
so I got like 10 more people to finally start listening to podcasts. So
Did they
it's
listen
been a
to your
fun ride.
podcast?
Yeah,
That's the thing, though. Did they listen to your podcast?
probably not. I know I got my one cousin onto a golf podcast. He's like, oh yeah, man, I need to work on my game. I'm like, well, there's plenty of golf podcasts. So here you go.
You always know because you tell your family, "Hey, download it," and then there's no downloads. Did you watch it? Oh yeah, we watched it. Okay,
It's like, wait, I have 9 downloads and 13 family members. What's the deal with that? Yeah.
exactly. So why we're here today is there's a lot of people that are looking to get into podcasting, and one question that I'm getting a lot of from clients is, how do I make money? I think a lot of people are confused on how you make the money from the podcast. They're still looking at, again, I mentioned Joe Rogan. They're still looking at the Joe Rogan format. I need to make a podcast like social media. And I think social media has kind of put it in people's heads. You need to have 50,000 followers in order to get a sponsor or to be an
Yeah.
affiliate with someone like that. Podcasting, completely different. So let's jump right in and just give us some ways. Let's talk about the easiest way we could make money from podcasting.
Yeah, the easiest way I think is, well, first of all, we have to talk about the elephant in the room. You have to have an audience. You cannot monetize dust. So even this easy way is great, but if you don't have an audience, it's not going to work. And that's affiliate marketing. If you have the right product for the right audience, that can really pay off. And so I have a weight loss show that I do off and on, and I found I was promoting the Total Gym because at the time Christy Brinkley, Chuck Norris were promoting it all over the place. And after a year, I finally had somebody buy one, got my $75 affiliate check, and was like, But then I found this deck of cards called Fit Decks, and if I sold one, I made $1.50. And I used them so I could talk about them. And I said, I could see this being like a fun game you could do with your kids. And that's when I learned that my audience was primarily female and they all had kids. And I had my phone set up that if I got a commission, which was $1.50, a whopping $1.50, my phone would go cha-ching. So I'd be teaching a class and I'd hear this cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And because you'd buy one deck, but if you ordered 3, you got a 4th one free and all this other stuff. And I was getting $300-$400, and that's one income stream, $1.50 at a time, because I had the right product for the right audience. And so usually what I do is look around my room and go, okay, what do I use that my audience might use? And do they have an affiliate program? And so that's probably one of the easiest ways that you can treat them like a sponsor. You can talk about them firsthand. So that's one. Another one, especially for a small audience, is just donations. Throw up a PayPal button. But here's the thing: you can't put it on your website and go, "Oh, by the way, we have a PayPal. Thank you so much," and then do another 15 episodes. You have to do things, and this is what's one of the biggest problems is when people start to promote themselves, they feel like they feel salesy is usually the phrase I hear. I don't want to be salesy. And the pitch is usually this: hey, if you like want to, like, you don't have to, but like maybe if you kind of want to, and then they'll pitch. And it's usually on my website.com, where if you say, hey, I notice we're at the 28-minute mark. And first of all, if you know somebody else that would like this show, could you do me a favor and actually share this with them? Because A, they're going to think you're awesome because you're sharing this awesome content with them. And also, while you're there on your phone, we do have a donate button. And if you have found any value in this and feel like giving some of it back, just click the donate button. Short, succinct, tell them what to do. And now the pressing part, and I wish there was a way to get around this stat, but there isn't, is about 3% of your audience might actually click on that button. So that's where the one thing I found when I did my book was there was only like one person that I interviewed that was making a living solely from ads, and that's Jordan Harbinger, who gets 6-figure downloads on every single episode. But everybody else, it was like, okay, affiliate, maybe they sold their own product. And that's really the most profitable thing you can do is sell your own stuff. Because if you schedule on a regular basis, if you publish on a regular basis, you are seen as trustworthy because you're there every Wednesday. And then anytime you can make a point with a story about yourself. So I remember once I did an episode when Muhammad Ali died about how much that guy meant to me, and he was so much more than a boxer. And here's 10 things that podcasters can learn because they're still talking about podcasting. Here's 10 things podcasters can learn from Muhammad Ali. He was talented. He was always promoting blah, blah, blah. So, and I had people say, hey, he was my champ too. So, and then when you deliver good stuff, your show is good, the whole know, like, and trust factor goes through the roof. So when you say, oh, by the way, I'm opening a mastermind, or I've got a book, or whatever it is you're selling, that is one that really can be profitable. The thing that gets tough is, and I think it's because of radio, everybody thinks I'm going to start a podcast and then we'll get ads. Well, that's fine, but the big ads, the BetterHelp right now, Progressive Insurance, the ones we hear everywhere, stamps.com, they're looking for 10,000 downloads an episode. And Libsyn releases stats on like where people are, and 92% of podcasters don't get enough downloads, only about less than 10%. So that doesn't mean you can't have ads. I have a show that gets nowhere near 10,000 downloads, but I've had ads because I have a podcast audience. So it's a very niche audience, and people will actually pay more for that. And so those are just some quick ways. I know another one that I barely touch on in my book. I'm going to be doing an audio version of this shortly. And that is where you invite somebody on your show to talk about your industry, whatever it is, who should be your client. And you can't get them to pick up the phone, but you approach them and say, hey, Mr. Person or Mrs. Person, you have a lot of knowledge about our industry. You know what? I would love to have you come on my podcast as a guest. And that same person who would have told you, get out of here, kid, you bother me, will now come on your podcast because they want to share their knowledge. And what that does is when the, call is over, you just look at them and say, wow, that was really great. We talked a little bit about such and such. Who's doing that for you now? And then all of a sudden you're in there and they like you because you just helped them. The whole law of reciprocity comes in. And I see a lot of people do that where they will actually use it as a lead magnet. And so when you're doing, I realize this is like a 10-minute answer.
You're good. We got all the time you need, Dave.
When you do a solo show, you are growing your influence. And I don't do the YouTube thing, the whole, hey guys, I talk to one person. Thanks so much. I'm so glad you tuned in today. So I'm talking to one person, and that's just a Dave thing. So you grow your influence when you do a solo show. When you do an interview show, you grow your network. And so people are like, well, which one should I do? And I go, how about both? There's no rules in podcasting. So those are some just quick jabs of ways you can make money with your podcast.
No, I love it. And if you go back to the reciprocity thing, and you got to understand how much business you will get just from having a guest on your show. And here's what I mean. I'm not saying go use Dave's stuff. I'm not saying tell him
Hmm.
Dave's on come use my stuff, but you can understand that I'm bringing a guest on that has the knowledge about making money from podcasts. I'm not going down the street and just finding somebody and saying, "Hey, do you want to be on a podcast?" I'm finding somebody that has expertise on that. So my customer base knows that I'm going to feed them good content. I'm not just throwing up a podcast and talking. They know that I'm bringing guests on that know what they're talking about. Because as a marketer, I'll be the first one to admit I don't know everything. And even if I did know everything, by tomorrow, half that knowledge will be gone because of the way things are changing. So I've got to constantly bring people on who know more than me in order for my clients to get that. So they're seeing that valuable content. But back to the reciprocity, when you're having guests on your show, they're going to be more likely to share your content, to talk about you when things come up. As my deal, podcasting is a small percentage of what I do for clients. I mean, it is a small percentage. The majority of my stuff is Wikipedia. But I know there's clients on the back end that have heard the podcast or know someone who have been on the show. Wikipedia comes up and they say, "Oh, hey, I know a guy." So you're going to get this type of, and I don't want to call it necessarily monetization, but you are going to make money just off of those leads without sitting there and looking at stats or downloads. So just having a few downloads and getting the right audience and targeting the right people, you're going to make money automatically from a client standpoint as opposed to the monetization.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one thing that gets a little tricky with guests is if you want them to share your content, you have to do a little research to do something than the please let's go over your LinkedIn bio. Because if you like, I'm so thankful you didn't start off with, so Dave, what was podcasting like in 2005? Because I've answered that question
Yeah.
8 million times. And so if you do the same interview that the last person did and then say, I hope he shares it, well, guess what? I shared it, a month ago with my audience. Why would I share the same thing? So you have to kind of do something different. But that's really where the bonus I think of interviews, on one hand, yes, you want somebody who's going to deliver value, because if you don't, the third time I listen to your podcast and I go, that didn't really do anything for me, it's really easy to just swipe left and go delete. There's no spam in podcasting. I don't listen to podcasts I don't want, but it's the relationship that you build with that person, so that if somebody goes, oh wait, I need a lawyer or a marketing guy, I'm like, I got a guy for you. So that's really the bonus of interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're going to get residual searches as well. For instance, if I have Dave in my show notes, and I'm not trying to promote Dave, I'm not saying, "Hey, go do this. I'm going to get some affiliate money or whatever." That's going to be evergreen. It's almost going to be like a press release. It's going to be out there and it's going to continue to be out there. So 6 months from now, when somebody's searching for something, they're going to find the podcast, or whether it's on, YouTube or Apple or whatever it is, they're going to say, "Oh, here's a video on it." They're going to watch it. They're going to listen to it, whatever. They're still going to get that. So kind of going back to valuable content, continue to offer it, because if you continue to offer the same thing over and over and over and over, you're just going to be one of 50 videos talking about the same thing. And no
Yeah.
offense, no one cares about podcasting in 2005. We're here to learn how to
Well,
make
that's my
money
always
in
question. I'm like,
2023. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
here's
So
a novel idea. It was hard. It sucked. Okay, next
yeah,
question.
exactly.
You know, but another way that what if I don't have a big audience and I have a small audience? That's where you can do things like Patreon, Glow.fm, Supercast, and you do the hey. Mark Maron, I think, still does this. His last 50 episodes are free, and everything, the back catalog, you've got to pay X amount of money a month to get to it. So it's not really extra work besides a little like, oh, move this one over here, and now this one's over there. And your super fans are going to want that stuff, and the rest of them won't. But it's money for almost nothing, and so that's another income stream. So I kind of use them all. I have a Patreon. I do affiliate stuff. I'm doing the new thing. It's about 3 years in advance. I'm doing a podcast right now called The Future of Podcasting, and they've set it up with certain apps that your audience can stream Bitcoin to you. So the longer they listen, the more you make, and they choose how valuable the show is. So some people might stream next to nothing, and other people I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. And so it's not super bleeding edge. It's much easier than it was 2 years ago when I first got into it. But it's one of those things that I'm not really paying attention to. And you log in, and you're like, wait, I got what, 48,000 of what? Holding, and then you do the math, you're like, that's not too shabby. So, and that's one that who knows what that's going to be worth in 5 or 7 years. So, a lot of different ways people are getting creative to earn some income.
Nice. Now, for those of you listening or watching, there is a link in the show notes, which is an article I wrote that has all of this listed out. There's plenty of ways in there. You can go to each individual one, things that we're talking about. There'll be a link to the School of Podcasting if you want more information about monetization, a link to your book and everything else like that. So for those of you trying to take notes, put your pen down and just listen. We'll we'll get to there. You can download the article. It's just much easier. So let's talk a little bit more about affiliate marketing.
Yeah.
For those who don't understand, or those who maybe want to know, okay, how exactly does affiliate marketing work? You're basically promoting a product or talking about a product, and for each sale that you make on that product, the company or whoever the affiliate is going to give you a percentage of that. So um, where can people go to kind of find affiliates for their show?
Yeah, some of them are Commission Junction, which is cj.com. Shareasale.com is one that, again, I found a product called Chronometer. And a lot of people know MyFitnessPal. I found Chronometer. It's just as good, if not better, and cheaper than MyFitnessPal. Promoted that on my weight loss show, $1.50. I don't know what it is with $1.50 commissions, but I logged in and I was like, holy cow, I made $400.
Yeah.
Holy cow. So I know Audible. Impact.com is another website with a lot of affiliate links. And I think that's where I have my Audible affiliate program. I forget which program they're on, but that's one where it's easy to kind of shape to whatever you're doing. My original podcast, my very first one, was for musicians. And I remember Sammy Hagar came out with a book, and he just threw poor Eddie Van Halen under the bus. And I talked about it because I'd listened to the book. So here again, I'm talking from a personal standpoint.
And you're aging
And
us, by the way, but
yeah,
go ahead.
exactly. But I was making $15 for every new Audible person. And I think on that one I had like 7. So I'm not going to retire on 80 and $90, but when you get 400 there, 90 there, 120 there, plus you've got, whatever else going on. And so that one I was like, well, that's actually kind of working. And then on another show, if it was a different topic, I'd be like, hey, on this one, it's whatever. And I'd find another book that I'd listen to. You might like it too. And, that whole, the pitch, we've all heard it, but that's one that a lot of people jump on first, because if you think about it, your audience likes listening to stuff. So here's an affiliate product for people who like to listen to stuff. And so that's kind of a built-in market for Audible.
Yeah, and for those thinking about Amazon, because you're talking about Audible,
Oh yeah, I didn't even
let's
mention
talk
that.
about Amazon. No, it's really good. So I'll give you an example. Everybody listen. I'll give you an example of how this has worked without you even knowing that you have been sold. So think about last Christmas. Let's think about maybe August, September, October. You're going through TikTok and your Instagram or whatever, and you're seeing an ad where, oh wow, this is a cool remote control plane, and somebody's doing a video on it. They're not trying to sell you the plane. They're not like, hey, look at this cool plane. They're showing themselves using it. They're making a funny video of it, and you're like, oh wow. And you go down, and the first comments that they have is, here's where you find it. And you're going to go to Amazon, you're going to buy it because it's a cool product. They like it. They're making a video of it. They're not just making a video, hey, buy this product. They're showing you how cool the product is. You're going and buying this. And so instead of these, hey, go buy the Tickle Me Elmo for Christmas, now it's on TikTok and Instagram. You're finding these things that people are promoting. And that same thing can come back to the podcast, kind of how you're saying it now. So yeah, you're not going to get rich off Amazon, obviously, but if you're talking about books, Audible, um, you get
Well,
podcasts through there.
the fun thing about Amazon is they sell everything. I mean, everything. And I saw once where somebody gone over and bought like a 20-foot mic cable and a big screen TV. So I was like, cha-ching. All right, cool. So yeah, it's you just never know. The fun thing with Amazon is they're very picky about their terms. So don't say hey, if you buy through Amazon on my link, it supports the show. That'll get you kicked out real quick. If you put the phrase, please shop here, something about supporting the show. I don't understand why that's a rule, but you're just not allowed to say that. So I a lot of times just have an Amazon link on the website, and if somebody clicks on it, that's fine. The other thing you can do, and this came from a listener, they said, hey, do you have an affiliate for StreamYard? And I go, yeah, I do. And they're like, you know what you should do? And I go, what? And they go, make a page with all your affiliate stuff. And I go, that's a brilliant idea. And so I did, and it's on the website. If somebody says, hey, because what happens is they go over to click on the StreamYard affiliate link and they go like, oh, what's this other thing? Click, click, click. And so all of a sudden, pennies make dollars.
Yeah, and I'm on School of Podcasting right now.
It's
I
under
love
about.
under about when you click on about and you go
It should be.
to gear.
That might be one of them. Yeah.
And this is a page that I love because you're not telling people, "Hey, I love this microphone and this is the microphone you should use." A lot of people listening or watching are just like, "Can you just tell me what you're using so I can go buy it? I don't want to listen to this anymore. I just want to know the mic." There was an article I wrote about microphones for podcasting, and the first part of the article was like, "Go buy a dynamic mic." If you don't want to read this, this isn't a recipe article where I'm going to tell you the history of the ingredients. Okay, here's the recipe. Go buy a dynamic mic if you're just getting started. If you want to know all the ins and outs of why, go ahead and read the other 4,000 words of this article.
Yeah.
So, when you're doing a page like this, it's brilliant because a lot of people are like, I don't really give a crap. I don't care about StreamYard. I don't care about, I don't care. Tell me
Right.
where to go and what to use. I'm ready to start recording. Okay, here's
Yeah.
the list. So it's an easy way to, again, make that income off of affiliates without having to sell something to somebody.
And then I use a tool called Switchy, and I applied a domain to it. So most of my links are supportthishow.com/Q2U or something like that. And what that enables me to do is see what's getting clicked on the most. So that gives me an idea of what's resonating with my audience. And the biggest thing I love is when you use something like this, and all it does is you have a link, and then you go in and you say, when somebody goes to, whatever, go to this affiliate link. Well, if you get kicked out of Amazon, you're like, oh man, I got 47 links on my website. If you've used a tool like this, you go, that's fine. I'll just get the link to Sweetwater and put it in there. Your links stay the same, but the redirect is now to a new place. And I've done that before where in some cases, like I have probably on my website, supportthishow.com/volley, which goes out of business tomorrow. And so it was a great product, long story, but they're going out of business. So I've mentioned this in multiple episodes. So I found a new product called Zip Message, which kind of does what they did. And I can put it in there. So when somebody, goes to Volley, it'll go to Zip Message and they'll be like, oh, they must have rebranded or something like that. Because you just never know when either that or if it goes out of stock on Amazon and you're like, I don't know what's going on, but let's redirect them to that. So it's a central place where you can go in and edit your links in one place. And if you have them on different websites, it updates everywhere.
See, now that's a great example of how you can sell something without selling something because I want the link. I'm subscribing today. That is a brilliant tool because you think about it. I've got affiliate links in on Medium, on LinkedIn, on my website, on YouTube, everywhere. You know what I mean? Anytime you talk about something, that is a brilliant idea. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of those things when I discovered it, a friend of mine, so word of mouth again comes into play. And you can, if you're a person that's doing the whole Facebook pixel and the whole nine yards, you can have it, you can make your own kind of link tree thing. You can make QR codes for things. It's a really tool. And what I love about it is it's on a website called AppSumo, which is another great place that you can be on their affiliate program through Impact. And I found that on there. I think I paid, I don't know, $39 one time for this product. And I've been just using it over and over and over. It's a great tool.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, affiliate marketing is great, and you can do it again without pushing it down someone's throat. So,
Well,
so
and
we got. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
one last point on that is, a lot of people love to, there's a measurement, CPM, it means cost per thousand downloads. And I think right now the average is around $25 if, again, you're one of the 8% getting these big uh, advertisers. But sometimes with affiliate stuff, your numbers are smaller and you get, a decent sized check, your CPM is so much higher than if it was an ad. And so that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I mean, if your CPM is what, $30 for 1,000 downloads, and then you're only having 15 downloads, but you're making 2 sales off of it,
Yeah,
it's $100. You're tripling your income with a tenth of, math is hard. Let's see, a tenth, a hundredth of what it was. So,
that's it.
folks, math is not my strong point. Okay, I just
Yeah,
look at
never do
numbers.
math in a podcast live. It
Yeah,
never ends well.
yeah, exactly. We were talking about Bitcoin and everything else here. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, we did talk a little bit about the donating, the PayPal donate link
Hmm.
or whatever. Yeah, it's great to have that. One thing that we talked about pregame, and we kind of hit on it here for a second, I want to talk about real quick before summing this up, is you can always have some type of subscription. And
Hmm.
when I say subscription, you need to offer some type of, I want to say premium content, but something that's even more than what you do. So for instance, I have a podcast I do that's for men's mental health. And I always have a pregame where we sit and we chat for 10, 15 minutes before the show. We laugh, we talk about something stupid, and it's just men being men, which is, lighting firecrackers under pans to see what they do. So those those episodes and we don't do that on the podcast because we're not obviously not going to do a Beavis and Butthead. Hey, let's show how to blow your thumb off. But so those episodes that I'm recording on the pregame are being saved, and we're doing that as a subscription on Patreon where people can subscribe and do that. So that's just kind of going back to the donation or subscription model or things like that.
Yeah, I do that. I do a live show every Saturday called Ask the Podcast Coach. And I started as just a test to see what it would be like to do live. And so when Patreon came along, I was like, all right, let's try this and threw it out. And it's a card payment. I'm not going to retire on that money, but I'm like, all right, I'll take $450. That's cool. And then it also it gives you a place to interact directly with your super fans. And that's where I always tell people, if you have some sort of private Facebook group or something that people are paying to get into, these people have already said, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I want your stuff. So if you're like, I don't know if I should do this on my show or not, well, guess what? You've got a built-in focus group of people who are more than happy to tell you, yeah, I wouldn't do that. Or, man, when are you going to start doing that? So I know I have a friend of mine, Glenn Hebert, has the Horse Radio Network, and he's got a giant Patreon group. And he's like, yep, that's exactly what he uses it for, as a focus group. And he says what's great about it is he's created an environment to be like, hey, in the event this show ever goes left or right, like, you are the group I'm looking to say, hey, Glenn, that guy was boring. Like, they don't have that guest back. So you need some truth tellers, and that's what he uses his Patreon for. So it's great that it's, obviously the money is nice to come in, but it's a really cool instant connection with your super fans.
Yeah, no, it's becoming big with live streams as well. I'm seeing a lot of people that are doing the live stream podcast where people are, donating money as you go along
Yeah.
or whatever it is. So, I think people are getting more off of the live than they are off of the recorded stuff. But
Yeah. What I love about the live stuff is maybe 5% of my audience is there live. I get like 30 people typically on a Saturday. So a huge majority listen afterwards. But what I love is I can get instant feedback. And so what happens with me on that live show, yeah, I'll answer whatever question you have, but when there's no questions, we'll kind of bring in a topic. And a lot of times I'm kind of workshopping a topic to see what kind of reaction I get from the chat room. And if it starts to resonate and a lot of times the chat room's having their own show, but I'm like, "Ooh, this is resonating," and then I'll put it in the oven and think about it, and then it'll show up again on the School of Podcasting. Now that I've really figured out what I'm going to say, and I'm not just riffing off the top of my head. So that's the thing I love about live, is it gives me instant feedback on an idea, and I'm like, "Oh, this is working. Look at them; they're going crazy."
yeah, no. Now, okay, so let me tell the listeners right now, we could have this podcast for 3 hours talking about monetization. Okay, this is
Yeah.
this is a huge rabbit hole. So I just want to remind you to go ahead and go to the show links. There is an article out there which outlines specific topic ideas that you can go over and try to help you. The main goal of this show is basically to let you know that there's more than just waiting until you're famous. You don't have to be a Kardashian. You don't have to be Joe Rogan in order to get sponsorship money, because it's not just about sponsors and ads. There's so many other ways to make money on this podcast. So
Yeah. I know for me, my numbers could go up and down all over the place. I base my success on how many people join the school of podcasting. And it's interesting because my numbers go through the roof in January because everybody's like, this is the year I'm doing a podcast. And then in February, just like the gyms do, my numbers go down a little bit, but my membership goes up. So I should be depressed because my numbers went down, but I'm not, because the people that decided, okay, this is the year, my membership goes up. So it really always comes back to who's my audience, who is this for, and then why am I doing this? Because if your why is downloads, it's going to be a bumpy ride. And where my why is, well, I'm promoting my own product and service. So when that goes up, it's just one of those things. Those are really the two in terms of a key to a successful podcast.
yeah, it's a sales funnel. I mean, you're
Yep.
getting a bunch of people and they're coming down. So now the 30 people that are watching your show live on Saturday are the 30 people that you want as your audience, because those are the people who are paying attention. Those are the people that want to learn. Those are the people that want the products or services that you have. They want your knowledge. They're there specifically for that. So you kind of narrowed them down. So
I got one more tip.
let's do it, Dave.
Start a newsletter.
Yes.
Or have some sort of lead magnet, and I'll tell you how stupid lead magnets can be. I don't know why, but I have a very popular page on my website about how to take phone calls on a podcast, and I'm like, who's taking actual phone calls? But nonetheless, on the right hand side of that page, it's like, would you like this article as a PDF? It's not anything. Just, hey, the thing you're reading right now that you could come back anytime you want to read again. Would you like it as a PDF? And I have people that sign up for that. And so what kind of makes me cringe is so many people say, hey, rate and review us on Apple Podcast. It helps us get found. Two things on that. Number one, it does not help you get found. I will repeat that. It does not help you get found. The source of that is Apple Corporation. Okay. They've said this isn't doing anything for the charts. But people go, yeah, but it's social proof. And I'm like, you know what? That's absolutely true. You know what else is social proof? A big fat email list that you can email people and say, subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to the podcast over and over and over. And you now have people that are one click away from clicking on affiliate links, from ordering your stuff. And you're just building that. You've got another feedback loop. So I always hate, nothing against reviews, they're fun, but I'm like, man, a much better call to action is join my email list. And there are tons of different ways you can do that for free. And then,
So people who aren't even listening to your podcast, now they know you have a podcast. Now they're on your email list. Now you can tell them about your podcast. You can also tell them about the products or services you talked about in your podcast. You're also able to create these newsletters, do the unsubscribes and everything else. So it's easier. So there, you said it first when you cancel Mike for calling Dave cheap. There we go.
no, it's just one of those things. And I was like, it's easy, it's simple, whatever. We'll see. And trust me, in 6 months, I'll probably move someplace else. I'm always
Yeah.
playing with different stuff.
Well, no, Substack, I like it. A lot of people use it. I don't think it's going to be something that goes out of business. It may
No.
be something that's probably absorbed into something eventually. And I used MailChimp for free for a long time. The only reason that I started paying was because of the numbers of subscribers and because of sales funnels. Once sales funnels, the Brunsons of the world came in and said, hey, you got to have these click funnels, which is a completely different podcast, by the way. But when you start doing click funnels, it's like, man, I can either spend $300 on this website to get them done, or I can just pay $30 a month and have unlimited
Yeah.
access to it through here. So yeah, it's a great way to do it.
Well,
So
you're going to pay with things with either money or time. And I always say, use the one you got the most of. So when you first start off, you might have a ton of time, but then you start creating content and all of a sudden, oops, it's like, all right, well, time to start paying with some money.
yep, exactly. All right, Dave. Well, we're gonna end the show here. Do you have any last minute advice, any last tips, tricks you can give anybody?
The bottom line is the better you know your audience, the better you can make your content. The better your content, the more likely they are to share it with a friend. The more they share it with a friend, the bigger the audience, the better the chance to monetize. So it really comes back to that again. Who is this for, and why are you doing this? And when you know those two, it helps you steer yourself into success.
Perfect. Again, thanks again for coming on, Dave. I'm sure we're going to have you on again with some other topics. Just like I said before, go to the link in the show notes. There'll be an article there that sums up everything, gives you all the pointers. It'll take you over to Dave's School of Podcasting, which is a really great site with a ton of information. I don't care how much content I've produced on podcasting, you're going to get 100 times more, probably better advice over here with Dave. It's just the way it is, you know. So, other than that, thanks for tuning in, and hope you enjoy your weekend, Dave.
Oh, thank you, Mike. This has been great.
Perfect.